last night at practice, I did a basic layup drill that I use with young players, the extension layup drill. I'll try to post the link below. And one of the things that I noticed, and it's very common, it happens almost every time that I introduce this drill to players, is that when you switch the pivot foot and you attempt to get players to do an inside hand layup for the first time, especially when working on the right hand side of the court where they're having to shoot a left hand inside hand layup, the footwork becomes very problematic. So players develop the habit of taking an extra step in order to get to that last right-left step to shoot a right-handed layup on the right-hand side, because that's what everybody's taught, and that's what is practiced probably 90% of the time when players, especially young players, practice layups. It's almost always you have to shoot a right-hand layup and you have to shoot off your left foot. On the left-hand side of the court, you have to shoot a left-hand layup and you have to shoot off your right foot. I even remarked during one of the games this week, Chris Webber said, I think it was Russell Westbrook jumped off his right foot and made a right-handed layup on the right-hand side, and Webber called it jumping off the wrong foot. And personally, I don't like that terminology for that very reason. I think players need to be able to make every kind of layup off any kind of foot. And so I don't think jumping off the right foot is wrong. It's a goofy-footed layup. It's different. It's not, quote-unquote, the normal layup, but it's not wrong. It's not incorrect. You don't get marked down for doing it. I think, and there's a video that I did about the right foot layup for a right-handed layup before, so I'll put that in the notes below as well. But the problem with the footwork, so the normal drill, we start out right foot, pivot foot, 3-step layup. Okay, left, right, left, layup. Same thing for reverse layup. And then we go to an inside layup. So the inside hand layup, we use our left foot, pivot foot, and then it's a right, left, right. Shoot a left hand layup. And it's different. And again, you constantly see the players shuffling their feet so they can get to a right-left finish. And many of these players, because they're quite skilled, were able to do the left-handed layup, but they were jumping off the left foot, which again, I wouldn't say is wrong, but I was trying to work on their footwork here. So I was trying to get rid of that extra stutter, because when we did some of the games, the players really slowed down when they were doing their layups rather than extending out into the basket. So they would give up an advantage as they slowed down and tried to get their feet correct, or to their habitual form of footwork, and they would allow a defensive player to catch up to them. So one of the main reasons I was doing this, beyond simply encourage them to try different types of shots, was to work on their footwork, to work on extending out to the basket and trying to move further and further from the basket and only use 3 steps, which forces the player, 1, on their first step to really extend out with the dribble, and then 2, to continue to extend to the basket on each step rather than shortening the steps or stuttering the steps to get on the proper, or the habitual type of footwork, so the right-left for a right-handed layup. And this is very hard for players to do. They become so accustomed to doing a layup in one way that asking them to change that and do a layup in a different way becomes very difficult. And I think, one, you can view it as a sign that the players are well coached and well drilled. They've obviously been taught how to do a layup, and they've practiced that layup hundreds of times, and it's become habitual and mastered and something that they don't think about, which in one sense is a positive. That's what we're trying to get from players. But in the second respect, from the negative side, you look at it and they're very limited to one type of footwork and one type of layup. And when I do drills with these players with defense, you can see that. They're very committed to doing one type of shot. And when that shot is taken away, they oftentimes lack the variability or the creativity to create a different shot. So they go ahead and do their normal right-handed layup even if a player is right in front of them, to the point where they'll be going against a player who's taller than they are, and they'll dribble straight in, shoot a layup, and throw the ball right into the taller player, rather than attempting some other layup, whether it's attempting to Euro step or going underneath for a reverse layup or jump stopping and stepping through. There's dozens of different types of shots that they might be able to shoot, but they're very accustomed to only shooting this one type of layup. And so one of the things that I'm trying to work with these players, subtly through the different drills that we do, both game-wise and a drill more like the extension layup drill, is to encourage different types of shots. Mike McKay from Canada Basketball says the most missed shot in basketball is the poor angle layup. And I completely agree. You see players and in games, youth games, high school games, college, even the NBA this week, if players can't shoot that traditional outside hand, inside foot layup, oftentimes they struggle to finish. And in games, oftentimes the layup that's required is not, the outside hand, inside foot traditional layup. They have to go off the right foot for a right-handed layup like Westbrook did when Weber commented about it. Or they have to come at an angle, or they have to extend the ball. I remember Austin Rivers hit a shot in one of the games last week, and the analyst didn't even know what to call it. He's like, I don't know, was that a hook shot or a running layup or a floater? I don't know what that was, but that was a great shot. And that's the point. To some degree, when I look at youth players and even recruiting videos and stuff like that, one of the things that stands out to me is players who can just make shots. So it doesn't matter how they're shooting the shot around the basket, but it just tends to go in, because there are other players who will shoot the same types of shots, but they just don't have the same type of success. Some players tend to be shot makers, I think, around the basket. They have a great feel for getting their shot off and being able to finish regardless of which foot they jump off of, and regardless of, which hand they use, or where their defensive player is, etc. So, in one respect, yeah, it's great that players, have learned how to shoot a proper layup, or a traditional layup. But I also think that more practice needs to be dedicated to creating that variability so the players are learning how to shoot different shots that the defense will eventually force them to shoot in a game, so that they can make shots at different angles, so they can make shots off different footwork, and they're not limited to only one type of shot. And also in a drill such as the extension layup drill, that they're really working on extending away and not shortening up and allowing defensive players to get back in the play when they've already beat that defender. So again, those are the two things that I was working on, trying to create a little bit more of creativity or variability in the shots the players are taking, and then also working on that extension to the basket, getting away from the defensive player and not allow the defensive player to get back into the play, by shortening the footwork. Again, two things, hard to teach, hard to break those habits, but definitely worthwhile for players as they progress.